All right, it's 5:30, so I will call us to order. Kelly, will you please call the roll?
Collins.
Here.
Merle.
Here.
Neese. Here. Neeson.
Here.
Topliff.
Present. All right, we have a quorum. Please rise. Dear God, as we gather this evening, we ask that you influence our hearts and minds so that we govern this city fairly and justly. We thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed on our community, and we ask for your continued protection upon our city staff and crews. Amen. Wait a minute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Item number 2 is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Item number 3 is public hearing.
At this time, we'll have a public hearing for the ad valorem property tax levy for general fund.
Arlene, if you'd like to come up and sort of give a brief statement before we open the public hearing, so save you a trip later. Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just very briefly, the assessed valuation for the city for all of the property that was on the books last year actually went down a little bit. That's not uncommon in a year that's not a reassessment year like this one. So the increase that we're seeing in property values this year is actually related to new construction and things that are coming on the books that weren't on there before. That is why the state calculation allows for a little bit of an increase to the property tax rate this year. So the rate increase is going from a 0.3106, which is what it is right now, to a 0.3115. So if you're really good at math, and I'm not necessarily, it's like 9 thousandths of a cent, something like that. So at any rate, if I said that wrong, feel free to correct me. The total dollar amount that we're expecting to come in next year that we did not get this year, so the total increase is less than $4,000. Any questions?
That's 4,000.
I guess you're not voting yet, but
4,000 for all the properties in.
for
town?
everything. Yep.
Not very much. Cool.
Okay. At this time, if you have any input, you can step forward, state your name and address. All right. No one, I thought everybody was here for that. Man, I thought property tax, hell. Excuse me. And every once in a while, that old sailor comes out. Kelly, next item.
Next item is recognition of guests. Each guest will have 5 minutes to address council. When you come to the podium, please state your name and home address or place of business. First up is Catherine Wiltsey.
I present you each with some information of the ordinance from Branson and then some other information pertaining to what I was going to talk about.
Sure.
And I apologize, I ran out of school.
Oh, it's okay. I'm not on council. I'll just be recording it, so.
Then I have to.
Yeah.
Like I miscounted somehow.
No, that's it. 5 of us. Thank you.
So I have a rental at 7437 County Road 1930. Also, my daughter does her lessons here. I do homeschooling here. This is where we do our shopping. We also have a main residence off Highway 14, but as you guys know, West Plains is supported by a rural area surrounding it, and I would like the opportunity to speak tonight. The first component of this package that I just gave you that I'd like you to consider is the ordinance that Branson passed pertaining to public drag shows. And what is really important about this ordinance is it upholds the Constitution and it does not ban drag shows, nor would I come here to ask for that. Or pride events either. But those two have become intertwined and I'd like to disentangle them so that we can address them individually. So what Branson City Council saw was that there was a specific adult entertainment quality to drag shows that I'm going to present some evidence that shows that, not just what happened at the event, but also what is used in like public social media. And so for that reason, I believe that this is a really good ordinance and that you guys should consider passing something like this, which Branson did immediately and put into law immediately. The second thing I'd like you to consider, it's the second piece in the packet. It shows Supreme Court precedent, which has been stated over and over again, that decency is decided on a local level. The standard that was first set was Roth versus the United States, and it came up with the term community standards. And what community standards means is that decency is considered a local perception. So furthermore, the Supreme Court then ruled in Miller versus California that decency specifically is going to be different in local areas. They actually give an example. What's okay in Mississippi is going to be different than the streets of Las Vegas. And what I'm asking you to consider is West Plains community standards. Are those the same as St. Louis? Are those the same as Kansas City? The third piece of really evidence that I show you is I want you to consider the dance moves that were done in front of minors and children. The first performer, Baby Buddha, was dropping down, and I have a friend who's an ex-stripper. This is a total stripper move, dropping down in the splits, bouncing and gyrating. It is obviously inherently a sexual act that is actually mimicking a sexual act. And already in your municipal code, you guys call something, gosh, it's a term I'd never heard before and I'm forgetting it right now, but it pretty much says that you're not allowed to mimic sexual acts in public. That's already on the books and it's actually, there's
2
a
minutes.
penalty. There's a penalty of a misdemeanor for that act. The first picture I show you, she does it repeatedly in that dance with minors watching. That is inappropriate and I believe it's against your current code that you already have on the books. I also want you to look at their public social media pages because in this day and age, think about being a young child. You go to an event, your city council has already approved this event and permitted it. And so you're going to assume that everything you're going to see there content-wise is okay for you to see. And what do young people do? They're going to go to social media and they're going to look up performers. That is what young people do. And I want to show you some pictures on their public social media pages that are so horrific. And I have been exposed to everything. My parents called themselves hedonists. So you can imagine how I was raised, right? And the things I've been exposed to. And my mind was blown. They have a category that's like horror, murder, sex acts. So as a young child, you're looking on social media, you just went to an event that was permitted by your city, and you then go to their social media and you see literally blood running down the walls with sex acts on the social media. How is a young mind going to developmentally process this? What I'm trying to show you is that it's inappropriate inherently for a young mind to see. The next thing I want to show you is that the way they did the advertising, it was geared towards children. Please look at that. Also, one of the coordinators has been putting out my personal information and encouraging people to send me packages of feces. I want you to consider that as a quality of citizen that is representing this, because I'll tell you what, I believe I should come here and be able to present this without having my home and business threatened with feces. And honestly, we're going to put up a camera, like it's concerning. I don't
That
like
concludes
this.
your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Scott Shipley. Scott, please come to the podium, state your name and home address or place of business.
Howdy. My name is Scott Shipley and I live here in West Plains or on Freedom Drive. My business is not located here. My business is elsewhere. I work on the road mostly, playing music for a living. So here's my purpose. First of all, I want to say thank you to the mayor and the ladies and gentlemen of the council for allowing me to speak my mind a little bit tonight. KWPM, what do those letters mean to you? Those were the call letters assigned to a brand new AM radio station, West Plains, back in 1947. That, of course, stands for West Plains, Missouri, the K denoting all stations west of the Mississippi. But the forward-thinking electronic salesman, engineer, and repairman, Robert Nethery, who built the radio station, always said proudly that that stands for Keep West Plains Moving. He built his life on that, and he helped build this town. If there were truly a town father, he was it. In the years leading up to the Civil War, my great-great-great-grandfather uprooted several generations of our family from Appalachia and settled here about the same time West Plains was becoming a town. He chose this place, as did many others, for its lack of bigotry and unwavering refusal to subjugate other human beings. His neutrality was eventually challenged by some of his own family members, which he responded to by enlisting in the Missouri Home Guard Company H based in Rolla, Missouri, an all-volunteer unit that included a young James Butler Hickok. He was captured after the Battle of Veracruz, then the county seat of neighboring Douglas County, and narrowly escaped being sent to Georgia's Andersonville prisoner of war camp. He avoided that fate by having been one of a very small handful of men who chose to stay and fight rather than returning home to their families when given that option by the commander after the siege began. They were obviously outnumbered, outmunitioned. It was a failing attempt before they started, but he stayed. And that's why he was let go at the end. Which leads me to my point. These men risked a lot more than anybody else in this room has to build this town, build this community. You can't legislate morality. That's been tried multiple times throughout human history, and it's always failed. It has to be left to the local level. But who do we let decide morality? Your opinion may differ from yours, probably differs from mine. I don't have a problem with tattoos. My dad, who was a Congregational Methodist preacher, hated my tattoos. I still have them, and he still loved me, and everything worked out. I attended Pride Fest in June with my 9-year-old son. We were there. We were there for about an hour. God loves you too. We're there for an hour and a half. Had a great time. We left there and had a wonderful discussion about the power of prayer. What led to that was the only indoctrination that happened the entire time that I experienced was when we first got there. This well-organized event was obviously well attended, and there were no parking spaces left. So the one spot right near the front gate was being blocked by a motorcycle. And I asked the guy politely if he would consider, letting me park there. And so he did. He said, on the condition that you'll let me pray for you. And I said, sure. So got out of the car and held his hand. We prayed. Everything was great until he literally, and I quote, prayed for God to lay a spirit of conviction on Brother Scott's heart and all of those of the attendees, at which point I let go of his hand and said, and please lay the conviction of the spirit of love on all your followers' hearts. There were people there from every walk, every race, every gender ID, political affiliations, and I didn't hear one cross word at all. All I saw was love and support between everybody. So as I see it, aside from getting into all the government issues of an election year, we're at a crossroads. There's a lot of problems in our world. Love doesn't seem to be one of them.
1 minute.
Kind of seems to be the one thing that can heal all the problems. So we have a chance, we have an opportunity to make West Plains a beacon and keep West Plains moving and let everyone make it happen here with no preclusions. Or we can be another symptom of the overall problem. Thank you.
It's quite obvious, we have people on both sides of this issue. And I ask you that you withhold your outbursts on either side. Okay.
Next speaker.
Because we're all entitled to opinions and ideas, and that's what we're expressing here. So please allow people to their opportunity, their 5 minutes. Thank you.
Next speaker, Cammie Storm. Please come to the podium. State your name and address.
Hi, my name is Cammy Storm. I live at 2707 County Road 4000. Right on the outskirts of town. My house is in town. My road isn't one of those places, you know? The reason I'm here is I'm a transgender woman and a concerned citizen. And I urge you to pass an ordinance protecting drag shows and transgender individuals from discrimination. Drag bans are not only an attack on artistic expression, but but also they are an attempt to erase transgender people's right to exist in public spaces. Missouri state law and federal law include the First Amendment protections of right to free speech and expression. The Missouri Human Rights Act prohibits discrimination based on sex, which includes gender identity. Furthermore, the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protections Clause ensures that all individuals, including transgender people, receive equal treatment under the law. Passing this ordinance will uphold the principles of inclusivity and acceptance, protect the rights of transgender individuals to exist in public without fear of discrimination, preserve the artistic expression of drag performances, align with federal and state law, ensuring equal protections and free speech. I implore you to take actions that safeguard our community's diversity and creativity. Numerous studies and examples demonstrate a positive correlation between LGBTQIA inclusivity and economic growth in cities. Here are a few. A 2019 study of the Human Rights Campaign, HRC, found that cities with strong LGBTQIA protections and inclusivity policies saw an increased economic growth of a median GDP growth of 3.8% compared to 2.8% in cities without such policies. A 2020 report of the LGBTQIA plus Chamber of Commerce showed that the LGBTQIA friendly cities attract more business, talent, tourism, and leading to increased economic activity and job creation. Austin, Texas, known for its strong LGBTQIA plus community and inclusivity policies, has seen rapid economic growth with 34% GPT from 2015 to 2020. U.S. Census Bureau is where I got that information also. And a 2018 study by the Williams Institute of UCLA School of Law found that LGBTQIA inclusive cities attract more highly educated workers, leading to an increased economic productivity and growth. Cities like San Francisco, Seattle, Portland are known for their LGBTQIA plus inclusivity, consistently rank higher and higher in economic growth, innovation, and
2
quality
minutes.
of life. These examples demonstrate that the cities embracing LGBTQIA inclusivity and protections can experience significant economic growth and benefits, making them more attractive to businesses and talents and tourism as well. I also have a statement from Randy McCallion that she would like me to read. She is our nominee for the 8th Congressional District. She states, I, Randy McCallion, stand in solidarity with our community because I deeply understand efforts by any government entirety to support freedom of expression as anti-democratic and antithesis of freedom. Drag shows are entertainment. They are not a threat. As a woman who has forced threats against my safety and some who have had sexual predators in my life that have harmed children, I can
1 minute.
confidently say that this is not entertainment show that it is not entertainment shows that assault children or books for that matter. It is predators, often within our own families. I implore those who care about the safety to focus their attention on the real dangers to children and families and our communities. Dangers like unmitigated gun violence, addressed crime, climate change, and greedflation, keeping families from putting healthy food on the table, and your Democratic nominee for the U.S. I ask you to focus on uplifting your community. And I ask that we stand in solidarity with one another and joy and justice. Focus on unity and focus on unity and enough with destructive attacks on our neighbors who are joyfully expressing themselves and building a more resilient community. Thank you very much for your time.
Next speaker is Stevie Miller. Stevie, please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Stevie Miller. I'm at 4600 County Road 4100 West Plains Mill. I'm a non-binary trans man, the sitting chair for the West Plains Pride Committee, and occasionally a drag performer. I stand here today because someone from outside our town has come to state what they think is best for our town. I am not here to attack this person or their beliefs, but to address the council as a resident and as a member of the town's LGBTQIA+ community, and educate on this highly misunderstood topic and what it actually means for our town. The goal we had when setting up Pride here was not advocating for sexual deviancy, but for a sense of community for a heavily marginalized group of people in this town. There is a large LGBTQIA+ community here that is finally feeling like we belong in West Plains, and that we are all of us stronger together here. Many people have gathered here today to sit silently in support of the work that we have done and continue to do to provide safe, inclusive spaces where we are free to be our authentic selves. And there are many more at home or out in the community working or attending classes. I am using my shaking voice for them just as much as for myself. We have gone on about how this has been a historic first for West Plains, and bringing a Pride celebration was indeed a first. However, I would like to retract any statements I made about this being the first drag show here. I don't know, that's my first slide here. That shows the information I also submitted earlier. That in 1932, we had members of the West Plains Service Club dress up and perform as female impersonators in the streets. I did some research on all the men listed in the article, and they're all well-respected members of the community at the time. A lot of them were on Chamber of Commerce. El Claiborne birthed a lot of people in this town. As a doctor, Scott Shipley or mentioned Robert Neathery, he's one of those men. Next slide is that one. What these men did is a form of entertainment that has been around since humans have been entertaining each other. Drag is the art of exaggerating gender expression, often by cross-dressing. Men dressing as women is the most common form, but there are also women who dress up as drag queens or cross-dress as kings. Performances are typically just lip-syncing in extravagant costumes and ranges to cater to different age-appropriate groups, from the adult-only bar shows to the more demure family-friendly story time. Drag is very important to the LGBTQIA+ community, so we knew we had to incorporate it into our Pride celebration. The following photos
2 minutes.
My final slide show what we had going on at our Pride. The professionals we hired ended up being the biggest draw of the event, and there are people asking if we will be doing the amateur drag competition again next year. There are many videos online of the event. I live streamed the whole thing so you can see everything that went on. And despite the range that the performers have. You can see from the crowd that people do want to see drag. There's actually a market for it here, and any local businesses hosting a show would probably fill the house and make money. The Pride Committee intends to be a good force in the community, as these men who also perform drag have done 92 years ago here. Drag bans stop people like me, both as a drag performer and a trans person, from doing good work in our community and restrict businesses. The last thing I will talk about here is some numbers. I've come across study after study that indicates places.
1 minute.
With LGBTQIA plus inclusive laws boast better economies, and ones with bathroom laws and drag bans take economic hits. The study I sent you up there is the relationship between LGBTQ inclusion and economic development. Macro level evidence. It shows that even one law in favor of LGBTQIA plus rights could boost up to 2,000 GDP per capita, and that is at city level. A survey conducted in 2023 puts the queer community at 7.6% of the US population. And with approximately 12,500 in our population, it's represented here, that's nearly 1,000 people, which makes sense because that's how many people we really had for Pride. That's a chunk of the population, and they are currently facing hardships such as homelessness, employment discrimination.
That
And
concludes your
addiction.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Corazon Hunter. Please state your name and address.
My name is Corazon Hunter. I'm just an average 23-year-old from Mountain View who lives in Trask, Highway V. And first of all, I wanted to express my gratitude to the council for allowing me to speak today. Second, I want to express my gratitude towards the Pride Committee because if it wasn't for them, I would not have the courage and confidence to stand here today and express my concerns in regards to the idea of banning drag shows. I will do my best to let my message be quick. I'm sure you all enjoy a variety of movies. Has anyone ever seen Mrs. Doubtfire? Robin Williams was one of my favorite actors. What about White Chicks with Marlon and Shawn Wayans? Super funny if you haven't seen it. Hairspray. There's two versions, one with Divine in 1988 and the other starring John Travolta in 2007. We can't also forget Tyler Perry's Medea, Monty Python, Jack Lemmon, and Tony Curtis in Some Like It Hot, which came out in 1959. My point is, these are all amazing films that share one common theme. In one way or another, there is always an actor cross-dressing or in drag. Whether most people acknowledge it or not, drag has been around for centuries. In fact, drag may have originated in the late 16th and early 17th centuries in Shakespearean theater, when men would dress as women to play female roles. A great example is Shakespeare's As You Like It, which features a cross-dressing character when Rosalind disguises herself as a boy called Ganymede. And fun fact, the word drag may come from the dresses men wore, which would drag on the floor. Drag shows provide a form of entertainment that is both artistic and empowering. Without it, we would not have the creativity we see in movies and theaters today. One of the main arguments against drag shows is that they are harmful to children. However, that is simply not the case. Drag is like any other Broadway musical or circus act. It is a creative source of entertainment that promotes expression and self-confidence to the one performing, as well as providing entertainment to the audience. Children being exposed to such entertainment could be beneficial as it helps them to learn and understand diversity and acceptance. Not only that, but most drag shows will state whether or not they are family friendly. So if a child somehow winds up on an adult show, I can say it's safe to say that that was that parent's decision, not the drag queen's. This year, I was able to attend West Plains Pride, and I don't think I've ever attended a local festival where I have felt safe and peace with the ones around me, and I have severe social anxiety. The teenagers and children I saw were having the time of their lives, and I still remember seeing a 14-year-old who was just looking at all these different booths with excitement, and her dad was just trying to catch up with her. They were having such great time. I also got to see the drag shows. I was up front, and let me just tell you, it was the hottest day of the year. And despite it being the hottest day of that summer, we saw these drag queens in head to toe, long sleeves, dress, makeup, jewelry. There was nothing exposed. And you want to know what they were performing to? Disney songs. Pocahontas, if we want to get into it. These drag queens have endured the blazing heat for the entire day so they could provide entertainment for the community. And boy, did the audience absolutely love it. The whole weekend was filled with positivity and joy, no fear or judgment. This was a place that could provide a sense of safety and security in expressing yourself without being shamed for how you present
2 minutes.
yourself. West Plains needed this event to happen. For too long, there has been violence and bigotry against the LGBT community. We are shamed every day for who we love or how we present ourselves. And yes, I say we, because believe it or not, I am part of that community. Even though I am engaged to a man, I still present as bisexual and have family and friends who are trans, non-binary, gay, etc., and will always be an ally. Not only that, but I am Hispanic, and as a person of color, I live in constant fear of being profiled. But the LGBT community advocates for persons of color, so in a way, they are my ally as well. Whether people like it or not, queer people have always existed and will continue to exist. My question is this: why do people feel the need to instill fear in other people? Why do people shame a community that they are not even a part of, nor even try to understand? Why must people try and dim the light of others solely because they are uncomfortable with something that they do not understand? If you do not like something or want your children to be attending an event that you deem inappropriate, why don't you just not attend? No one
1
is
minute.
forcing anyone to go to anything. If you don't want to be exposed to something, then don't engage with it. However, it is not okay to dictate what other people do with their children or time. If we ban drag shows in our community, it is only a matter of time before the seed of hate is planted and the LGBT community becomes even more vulnerable than it already is. We are banning freedom of expression, of creativity. We would be showing that it is okay to treat someone with hate and disrespect simply because they express themselves differently. Meanwhile, the person being treated negatively is trying to find a reason to exist. How can someone sleep at night knowing they are doing more harm than good? I don't think I will ever understand. I just hope that one day we can all coexist in peace without fear and without judgment, because we are beautiful and unique human beings who in the end just want to love and be loved for who we are. To my fellow queers, I want you to always march to the beat of your own drum. And because our time on this earth is limited, no one should have to dim their light just because someone else said to. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is ordinances. First ordinance is Bill 4774 to become ordinance 4774, first reading. An ordinance vacating an excess right-of-way section along Mitchell Road and further reserving a utility easement within the area to be vacated.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4774 to become ordinance 4774, first reading.
I second.
Hey, Dustin, what do you got?
Mayor, council, good evening. This is excess right of way from where Mitchell Road was constructed several years ago. There's some activity in the area. And this was discovered by one of the land surveyors, so there's no need for it from the city, but we do have some utilities running through there. The reason for retaining the utility easement, so open to any questions you might have.
And by releasing this, this goes back to the landowner, correct?
Correct. There's two adjacent property owners and both will
Both good.
go back to those.
Yeah, okay.
But we keep an easement, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Kelly?
Collins,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toppler.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Bill 4775 to become ordinance 4775, first reading. An ordinance providing for the levying and collection of a tax for the general revenue fund within the city limits, within the city of West Plains, Missouri for the year 2024 upon all real, personal, and mixed property within the corporate limits of the city of West Plains, Missouri, subject to taxation.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4775 to become ordinance 4775, first reading.
Second.
Okay, Early Nardi discussed this with us earlier. Kelly, just wait till they start throwing all the acronyms in on you.
Yeah.
They do it on purpose. No further discussion, anybody? All right, Kelly?
Collins,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toppler.
Yes.
Bill 4776 to become ordinance 4776, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for enhancement funds.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4776 to become ordinance 4776, first reading.
Second.
Michael, what do you got for us?
All right, good evening.
as you know, we applied for the TAP grant for the sidewalk down there, along Bruce Smith for the Garnerville project. We got awarded. Now we got to go through the paperwork process. This is, as you know, MoDOT agreements like to be ordinances. So that's what this is. This is that maintenance agreement, understanding that, yes, we're helping you build the sidewalk, but it will be your problem moving forward, not ours. And so that's pretty much what this is.
Okay.
Any questions?
So we will own the sidewalk,
Yes,
the city.
yes.
Kelly?
Collins,
Yes.
Thank you.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese.
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
All right, no council action, so city administrator report, Sam.
Yep, good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for your time. Just a little bit of follow-up. Wanted to say thank you to our electric crews, to our parks and transportation, sewer, water, for the storm recovery. We had some pretty strong, I think, straight line winds at the community not too long ago. So I know we had its peak about 2,200 customers without power, and within about 18 hours, we had all but I think 9 of those back and restored. So special thanks to not only our city crews, but our first responders for making sure everybody was safe during that. We still have some trees and limbs that we need to pick up in various parks. So remind citizens who are at our parks, be careful, watch your step. And also, we concluded our swim season for the year, but we do have one final event coming up this Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. It's the dog swim event over at the Aquatic Center. So I invite anybody who has a dog, come on out and let them get wet and splash around and have some fun. So that's all I have for you this evening.
Bring your own dog, huh?
Bring your own
Yeah,
dog. We have several at the adoption center. If somebody wants to pick one up.
If you need one.
Exactly.
Yeah, once again, the city staff and crew just stepped up. We had a good storm weekend. Recovery time was really amazing. I know the guys started work, Thursday night about 11 and they finished up Friday night about 11. So 24 hours straight working, and I was working with them this morning. Well, working, I was watching them okay this morning. Put our pole up, but yeah, that one looks great, but that was.
Way to go, Mayor.
I pitch in where I can, but once again, it's heartfelt. I know it's frustrating when you lose your power, and I know those guys are out there and working hard to get us back online. Yep. I want to thank everyone that showed up to speak. I know it's hard. Even I have trouble getting and talking in front of people, as you have noticed tonight. And that's always good. But with no further business, may God bless. And
Mayor, I've just got a comment.
What do you got?
maybe. Does the council have any notions to put forth a change in our ordinances to disallow some performances that's been discussed tonight?
We have not discussed it.
Are we considering anything?
I haven't anything on the thing right now.
No, I mean, unless council directs us one way or the other, I think we have existing laws on the books that cover some of the activities that people are concerned about. Otherwise, we ask anybody that wants to use a public park to go through a special event permit process. And I know the Pride Committee completed that requirement and obligation. So our police officers who were in attendance at the event didn't observe any violations. So.
Right, we are adjourned.